Hello and welcome to Labstep for Success, Growth and Scalability. This is part of a two-part webinar series on how Labstep sets your organization up for success regardless of size, research focus or industry. My name is Anoä. I'm in charge of writing articles for our help center, customer support and experience in our webinar series. Today we have with us Ethan Espina, one of our customer success managers. He'll be managing the chat and the Q&A functions. So any questions you have during the webinar, please don't hesitate to use the chat and he'll answer you. We also have Amira Fitzpatrick, our other customer success manager, and I'll get to chat with her today about growth and how Labstep aids the process of scaling up, whether you're part of a startup, a large enterprise, or an academic lab group. In this webinar, we'll focus on features and best practices for growth and scalability. We'll share our tips and tricks and go over what Labstep has to offer your organization. And like we said, regardless of size, industry, or research focus. This is your opportunity to get some product insights and best practice for scaling up your organization successfully, but also learn more about how Labstep redefines your experience as your team grows. If you're interested in knowing more about any of the features mentioned today, or would like to upgrade your account, please contact us at info@labstep.com or reach out directly to your dedicated account manager. So before we start, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So as you might have noticed, cameras and microphones have been disabled, and only the chat and Q&A functions will work throughout the webinar. So please don't hesitate to share your opinion and ask questions. We absolutely want to hear from you. So the webinar itself will last about 20 minutes, and then we'll open up the floor for some questions at the end. And if we haven't been able to answer your questions today, please don't worry. We'll write down your details and make sure to reach out to you in the following days. And if you cannot stay throughout the whole webinar, please do not worry as well. A recording will be available on demand in our help center and on our YouTube channel within the next couple of days as well. So this way, you'll be able to rewatch our webinar anytime and share it with your collaborators. And if you have any unanswered question or would like to chat with us about something else, please don't hesitate to contact us via info@labstep.com. All right, so let's get started. How are you doing today, Amira?
I'm good, thank you, and I'm quite excited for today's webinar. How are you?
I'm doing well as well, thank you. So here at Labstep, we know firsthand that it can be hard to keep everything organized when you grow your team. So when more and more experiments and protocols are created and then more people join, it's quite easy to just get overwhelmed and not organize your work anymore, whether it's because you simply don't have time or you don't know how. So we found a remedy to that. And we've created features like collections to help you keep your work organized at all times within your workspaces. However, Amira, can you tell us the difference between workspaces and collections? And what would be the use case of choosing one and not the other?
Yeah, I'd love to. So Labstep is made up of several modules, including inventory, experiments, protocols, and order management. A workspace is made up of all those modules, and it serves as a manageable and searchable environment for team members to collaborate in. You can create more than one workspace, and each workspace has the same modules, and you can create interaction between the different workspaces in some cases. Collections, on the other hand, are a way of sorting experiments and protocols within a workspace. Think of them like the folders on your desktop. It's a way of storing, sorting, and streamlining your files, and collections work in the same way. It keeps your workspace organized, and it saves you time when navigating through your experiments and protocol lists instead of endlessly scrolling through. Providing a structure to these modules will encourage you to have smooth onboarding and easy workspace management as your organization expands.
Thank you for the explanation. Now, how would you go about creating a collection?
Yeah, so I've got a little video on the next slide, but we've made it quite easy to do the collections yourself. So you can navigate to your experiment or protocol page. And then from here, you'll see on the left-hand menu within collections that you can press on the new collection button. This is just on the left-hand side. And then you click create once you've given it a name. So this may be anything that you're choosing to sort. This time I've chosen buffers. And then you click create and you'll be able to go into that collection. You see I've got the ability to create a sub-collection on the left, or I can create a new protocol, and that will create it in that collection and it will be automatically sorted.
Amazing. Now, when would you use a collection over creating a new workspace?
So collections are really, really effective when companies are in that startup stage. There's usually only a few members and they all have a similar workflow and they're all using one workspace. And this is really the time that you can make use of collections just as a small team and to prep for the future. So you may choose to collect your protocols in a cell type collection, or you may have collections of experiments just for prep work. Another really common example is that you may have a few protocols that are for non-regulated processes that you may wish to keep separate from your regulated processes, and you can create a sub-collection for this and give you more granularity. However, as your organization scales, you may want to establish different teams with different workflows. Creating different workspaces enables you and your organization to have designated spaces for the different workflows. You may choose to have a workspace just for a cell culture team and one for a bioinformatics team, for example. Then you might decide that you want to have one workspace just for inventory so that the lab manager can keep their workflow separate. Another example, just based on the collections that you may have, is that you may have a whole process of research development that's non-regulated, then you might have your regulated processes, and you can make a workspace for each of these ones. Each workspace has the ability to create collections with experiments and protocols within it, and having that just gives another layer of structure within your team.
Great. So now that we know how to create a collection, how do we create a workspace?
So creating a workspace is really easy. So you can go to your organization page at the top of your Labstep homepage, go to the users tab and just create a new workspace. Once you've got into the workspace tab, you'll have a little button there.
That's so insightful. Thank you so much. Now, can you tell us a bit more about the success and support systems that we have in place for organizations when they start their journey with Labstep?
Yeah, I'd love to. So there are so many different ways of support and customer success routes in Labstep, and I have to be a bit biased and really bolster up the customer success team. So that includes me, our colleague Ethan, and Eloise, our customer success team leader. And we are here to support you from the moment your trial ends all the way up through your organization expanding. When your trial ends, we'll talk you through your goals of Labstep and provide group training sessions to explain the full functionality of the platform. But it doesn't stop there. Once your training sessions are complete, you have our constant support, relaying feedback for features, providing you with product updates, and helping you with device inventory or API setup.
Nice. And how do we facilitate the onboarding of new users?
So along your journey with us, we can provide you with training material to help train your new team members. We can help set up features like Jupyter Notebooks if you were in our previous webinar, which will aid in automating your workflows. And we can provide you with personal product updates and refresher sessions. We work really closely with other teams in Labstep that includes product and implementations to really help you have a tailored and supported point of contact to make scaling up easy and enjoyable.
Now, when scaling up, you have new hires and such. So how would someone go about adding users on Labstep?
Yeah, definitely. And we try to make this as easy as possible so you can get your new users up and working as quickly as possible. So I have another cool video coming up here. So you can go onto your organization page. And once you're here, you can see that you've got this users tab. You can then click on invite and add in a single email address, or you can do multiple email addresses by just putting a comma in between each one. Then you can select a new home workspace. And this would be if you have different workspaces. So if they might be on the cell team, they might be on the bioinformatics team, they may be a lab manager. So you can come through here, use this drop-down menu and select their home workspace. Then you can click on invite and they will be added as soon as they accept. Now we all have this, we might be copy and pasting emails and you might add one too many times. You can then go into the pending invites tab and you can delete an invitation if you do one too many or you enter the wrong email address.
Nice. And what if they want to remove someone from the organization?
Yeah, so removing users is just as simple as adding them, and this may happen. You may have people that move to different teams. They might not need access to Labstep anymore. So to do this, again, really easy to do yourself. You can go onto the users tab and click these three little dots. Then you can just click on disable user. And once you disable the user, they won't have access to Labstep from that point, but their data that they've created and shared won't get deleted.
But by doing so, the price will most likely change, right? So how would they be able to update their bill?
Yeah, and you're right, the price will change, it will go up or it might go down. So when a user is added, it's best to notify your dedicated account manager, like myself or Ethan, as quickly as possible so that we can add it into your next bill. And for our annual customers or monthly customers, it's the same, just let us know and we can add it in for you.
Nice. So being able to add and remove users is definitely useful. However, what are we doing to prevent the wrong people from editing or deleting the wrong things, especially in those large organizations?
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point, especially when you scale up. We have this really clever, intuitive platform, but when you have different teams and you're trying to manage them all, you definitely do want a little bit of control within that. So for this, we've got our roles and permissions feature. This previewed early in one of our earlier webinars, and it is a way to have the workspace admins have an extra level of customizable control over who can do what in Labstep. And this will really help the users have a defined role and bolster their sense of structure within the organization.
Can you tell us a bit more about roles, please?
Yeah, of course I can. So in Labstep, you have 3 standard roles. These are owner, editor, and viewer. However, you may wish to have roles like intern, inventory manager, quality assurance head, and each role differs. So you be able to edit the permissions of each role to ensure the ability to create, delete, edit, or view content is completely in your control. You can add a role by going to the organization page and going to roles and permissions. You create add role and then click create, and you can have fun with editing what they can and can't do. And this is where permissions really comes into play, because you may not want interns, for example, to have the ability to delete or lock things, because you might want to have to, check that they've done it the right way or give them a little bit more guidance. And for quality assurance managers, you may only want them to be able to comment and sign things. So this is where roles and permissions really gives you that, easy scalability and easy control over your workspace.
Nice, fantastic. Now, if you want more insight into your team's activity and monitor user activity, is there a way of doing that?
Yeah, there totally is a way of doing that. So at Labstep, we've started to create some custom dashboards for some of our customers and organizations. They pull metrics from your organization's activity on the platform and present them in some cool, funky ways so that workspace admins can have a look and see what's working and what's doing and who's doing what.
Nice. And what can be monitored by dashboards?
So the dashboards are, as I said, quite customizable. And if there's any metrics that you want to see, you can get in contact with us and we can set them up for you. But as standards, they can monitor a range of key metrics like the number of users across an organization, number of workspaces, and the most active workspaces.
And what would be the benefits of having these set up?
So just in the point of scaling up, this is so good for going to see what's working, what's not working. It gives you a broad insight into how your users are interacting with the platform and how efficient different workflows are. So if you've got one workspace that you started, last year and no one's using it anymore, you can have a bit of a reassessment of the workflow. So you can see in this GIF here, I've got my dashboards. You can see I can see the active users, how much people are using the platform, active workspaces, and you've got very different ways that you can present this data. So however you want it to look, you can ask us and we can try to jig that around for you.
Nice. Thank you for providing us with such useful information. Now, if you had to summarize and give us some best practice when it comes to growth and scalability, what would they be?
Oh, there are so many features in Labstep that I just really encourage people to use, especially when they want to grow. But if I had to pick top 3 or 4, maybe, I definitely start off with the completion checklist. This is a feature that enables mandatory fields to be defined and filled out before signing off an experiment. So you can see on the right-hand side, I've got my completion checklist with lots of things that are ticked and not ticked. So it will tell me of things like unspecified resources, incomplete steps, or empty data field. And this really helps new users become aware of everything on the protocol and gives them a sense of standardization throughout the workflow, because you're encouraging people to collect the same data and making sure they're actually doing it. To set this up, you can go to your workspace settings, experiment tab, and then click on the completion checklist button.
Nice.
Next, I'd probably go devices. So devices are really, really useful to use within Labstep. A lot of the time, people are spending so much time transferring data from a USB in the lab, emailing them to themselves, and this takes up so much time. And it is prone to work. You know, you might drop the USB somewhere, you might lose it. So using Labstep's API, you can connect devices in your lab, such as HPLCs, balances, PCRs, and automatically pull the data that's collected in the folder ready into Labstep for use. This is really, really good because it just makes sure that everyone's getting the data from the same place, and it makes your workflow so much faster.
Nice. And I can see that's a very nice cuppa as well.
Yes, and I think we're all going to need one soon.
Absolutely. So what's your number 3 then?
Number 3, I'd go collections. And I know you're probably all thinking, wait, didn't she just talk about collections? But I really want to emphasize on how they can lend to easy scalability. By setting up collections, it will avoid you having a messy workspace. And as I said, when you're at the startup stage, it's so good to just get these set up, get them working for you, because then when it's time to take that next step and get those new hires, get those new teams, create those new workspaces, you've already got this workflow set up for you, and everyone who's onboarded will be able to work smoothly and quickly because they've already got such a fantastic structure there.
Amazing. Anything else at number 4?
Number 4, but isn't number 4 really, is these dashboards. So dashboards, as much as collections and devices, maybe for the people that are in the lab, dashboards are so good for scaling up when you are, like a manager or a workspace admin, because they help you assess what's working for you and what's not. So by using the dashboards, it really helps you see, okay, well, this workspace isn't active, or this user is really, really active and they're creating so many items of inventory. They're doing really, really well. And so you can just use them to have that insight into what's good and what's bad and what you need to work on more when you're scaling up.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Amira. So to summarize and give a little bit of a webinar recap, so collections are great for sorting through experiments and protocols and are often reflective of different process types, teams, or projects, whereas workspaces add this other layer to your organization, and you can ensure that the correct people have access to the correct things with roles and permissions that can be also workspace specific. Then you can easily add or remove users from your organization without losing the work they've created. And you can use dashboards to monitor your organization's users' activity and ensure workflow efficiency. And then you can use features like completion checklists or device clients, collections, and dashboards to smoothly and successfully scale up your organization. All right, so let's open up the floor for some question. Ethan?
Hey, we'll just let people trickle in and ask some questions and they come to think of some. But as I was watching that, I came up with some personally myself, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, okay.
So what's the difference between disabling a user and deleting an account?
So great question. And I think it's really worth clarifying. So in Labstep, especially when you're on the pro or part of the organization, you may have a set number of seats in your contract. So let's, for example, you have 10 seats. If you disable a user, it will leave the 10 seats so you can fill it with somebody else, for example. But if you delete a user, for that, you'd need to get in contact with us to do for you. Then you'd only have 9 seats, for example. And then this is the time that you could tell us that you did that. And so we could adjust your bill for you.
Oh, cool. Right. So the other one I thought of was that besides the activity dashboard itself, which is obviously super useful, tracking that sort of activity will be, perfect for scaling. Are there any other dashboards that Labstep provides?
So as I mentioned, we have a few customers that have some custom dashboards that they can do really, really cool things with and track the things that they want to see. So if you have something on there that's outside of the box that you may think, just get in contact with us, especially if you have an account manager, or you can email us at info@labstep and we can start to scope something for you.
Cool. And then the last one from me, just to give people a bit more time to come up with some questions, is that besides your top 3 or top 4 rather Labstep features for best practice and scalability, are there any others you'd recommend personally, Amira?
Yeah, totally. But if I had to choose one quick one for the end of the webinar, I definitely encourage people to explore this experiment and protocol templates feature. And this is whole part of that standardization, automation workflows that we try to encourage you and is so good for when you're scaling up. So you can set up experiment templates or protocol templates, and this just reduces the amount of time that people are spending setting things up, putting the protocols into use, setting up a way to gather data. If you create a template, someone can just come, use the template to start their work, and then they're off.
Great. And I think that's it for my questions. Everyone in the chat is a little bit quiet or thinking of it. I think you may have just answered everything, to be fair.
Good job, Amira, then.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to cover everything.
Nice. Right. So now you might wonder, what are the next steps? So now what you can do is get in touch with your dedicated account manager if you want to discuss any other features, or maybe you want to get a dashboard now for your team. And well, yeah, just let them know. And now you can also share this information with your collaborators, and in a couple of days you'll be able to share the link to the recording with your collaborators as well. And don't forget to sign up to Labstep for Success Part 2. And you can also start your free trial now by getting in touch with us via info@labstep.com. All right, any other last minute questions?
Can give it a minute, but nothing coming through right now.
I mean, while people are maybe still listening, hopefully, I think it would be a really good time to say, just elaborate on this training material point, because I know that when you start with Labstep, you might not know that you're going to expand. Obviously, that's everyone's goal, but you might not know how that's going to look like. But further down the line, you may need those refresher sessions, or you may want to allow people to have this independent onboarding. And for that, I think aren't we developing something really cool for our Labstep users?
Yes, so we are in the process of developing a Labstep Academy, where we'll be combining some video content, written content, training guides, and available for everyone in our help center. So that's going to be out very, very soon, and we'll keep everyone updated on that. And yeah, you have the preview, you have the exclusive here.
You had it here first.
But yeah, it's coming very, very soon.
Amazing.
All right, well, I guess that's all the time that we've got for today. Thank you for everyone for attending. Thank you, Amira. Thank you, Ethan, for being here. And yeah, if we haven't been able to answer your question, or you just think of something else tomorrow, right after the webinar, just contact us via info@labstep.com, and we'll make sure to answer you. And yeah, our next webinar, will be next month in September, and we'll send out more information about it very soon as well. And yeah, this webinar will be available on demand in our help center and on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days, so keep an eye out. So yeah, this has been Labstep for Success, Growth and Scalability. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Anoä. See you at our next webinar. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you,
for everyone.
Anoä, Ethan.